You wake up, check your phone, inflation's up, rents skyrocketing, another war's broken out. Oh, and Jeff Bezos made $300 million while you were sleeping. What do? Rage, cry, post an angry tweet. Nah. If you're a Stoic, you just sip your coffee and say, "It's out of my control." Welcome to Stoicism, the philosophy that tells you to focus only on what you can control and let go of everything else. It sounds wise, right? And hey, in an age where burnout, outrage culture, and mental health crises are rampant, Stoicism seems like the perfect antidote. But what if I told you Stoicism might be the problem? What if this calm acceptance is actually making us weaker, less ambitious, and even easier to manipulate? Today, we're gonna break it all down. We're gonna dive into what Stoicism really is, why it's making a comeback, and why some of history's greatest minds, Nietzsche, Marx, Hegel, Rousseau, Schopenhauer, Bertrand Russell, thought it was kind of, well, bullshit. So, what exactly is Stoicism? If you've ever scrolled through Twitter or self-help books, you've probably seen quotes from Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, or Epictetus. It's all about emotional resilience, discipline, and mastering yourself instead of worrying about the chaos around you. The core Stoic beliefs: only focus on what you can control. Emotions are distractions. Tame them. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Death is just a part of life. So stop stressing over it. Sounds powerful, right? No wonder CEOs, athletes, and Silicon Valley bros love it. Tim Ferriss swears by it. Ryan Holiday built a whole career around it. Heck, even Elon Musk has some Stoic vibes. He doesn't care about short-term losses, just the long game. And let's be real, Stoicism makes a lot of sense in today's world. Everyone's overstimulated, stressed, and one bad tweet away from a meltdown. Stoicism offers a way to detach, stay calm, and keep moving. But here's the question: is that always a good thing? All right, let's bring in our first critic, Friedrich Nietzsche. Now, Nietzsche was all about embracing struggle, ambition, and self-overcoming. He looked at Stoicism and said, "You guys are full of it." His argument? Stoicism is a trick. It convinces people that suffering is something they chose to accept. But in reality, it just makes them passive. Instead of fighting, they rationalize their suffering and call it virtue. Think about it. You're broke, stuck in a dead-end job, and your boss is treating you like garbage. Stoicism says, don't be mad, just accept it. But Nietzsche, he'd say, no, screw that. Get angry and do something about it. His whole philosophy, the will to power, was about pushing through pain, using suffering as fuel to create something bigger. Great artists, thinkers, leaders, they didn't just accept suffering, they used it. So the question is Stoicism making you stronger? Or is it just making you more obedient? Now let's bring in Karl Marx, the guy who gave us communism. Whether you love or hate him, one thing's for sure: he saw through a lot of societal BS. Marx argued that Stoicism is the perfect philosophy for the ruling class. Why? Because it tells people to accept their conditions instead of changing them. Think about it. If you're an underpaid worker and you complain, Stoicism tells you, stop worrying about things you can't control. Just be virtuous. Convenient, huh? And Hegel? He took it a step further. He argued that Stoicism tricks people into believing they're free just because they've mentally detached from their problems. But real freedom, that comes from actually changing your situation, not just pretending it doesn't bother you. And in today's world, the same thing happens. Ever heard a billionaire say, money doesn't buy happiness? Funny, right? Stoicism is often used as a tool to keep people content with inequality. Schopenhauer took a different approach. His issue? Stoicism tries too hard to control emotions instead of actually dealing with them. Think about it. If you lose someone you love, Stoicism tells you to accept fate and not get too attached. But is that healthy? Or are you just repressing real human emotions? Schopenhauer thought the real answer was to go even further. Like Buddhism, instead of fighting emotions, just accept that life is suffering and detach from desires altogether. So the question is Stoicism actually helping us manage emotions, or is it just making us emotionally numb? Now, let's talk about Jean-Jacques Rousseau and David Hume, two guys who thought Stoicism was way too cold and robotic. Rousseau argued that emotions aren't weaknesses. They're what make life worth living. Love, joy, passion. These are things Stoicism tells you to suppress. But without them, are you even living? Hume took it further. He argued that humans need emotions to make good decisions. If everyone was purely rational, life would be robotic. No art, no deep connections, just a bunch of detached people walking around pretending to be above emotions. Now let's talk about Michel de Montaigne, the 16th century French philosopher and writer, known for inventing the modern essay. A deep thinker, but also a man of the world. He loved life, wine, laughter, and the unpredictability of human nature. Unlike Stoics who sought detachment, Montaigne believed life should be embraced with all its messiness, emotions, and contradictions. Montaigne argued that Stoicism expects too much from human nature. All right, imagine you just lost someone you deeply love. A parent, a sibling, a best friend, a child. The Stoic approach? Do not grieve. Death is natural. Accept it with indifference. Now, Montaigne's question was, is that even possible? Can human beings truly live like that? More importantly, should they? For Montaigne, Stoicism demands an almost superhuman level of self-control. It tells people to suppress grief, fear, and even joy in pursuit of some idealized rational state. But here's the thing, people are not robots. We are flawed, emotional, and sometimes irrational. And maybe that's not a bad thing. In Montaigne's view, instead of fighting our human nature, we should learn to live in harmony with it. Bertrand Russell, a 20th century British philosopher, one of the most influential modern thinkers, wrote, "Stoicism is just a fancy excuse for passivity." Unlike Montaigne, Russell wasn't just about human experience. He was deeply concerned with power, justice, and social progress. Imagine this. You're a worker in a factory. The conditions are terrible, the pay is bad, and your boss treats you like dirt. You complain. Your Stoic friend tells you, "Don't worry about what you can't control. Just focus on your inner virtue." Russell would say, "No. This is exactly the mindset that allows injustice to continue." For Russell, the biggest flaw in Stoicism is that it preaches acceptance instead of change. Instead of getting angry at oppression, inequality, or corruption, it tells people to simply rise above their circumstances. Russell once wrote, "History isn't shaped by the people who accept fate. It's shaped by the people who refuse to." Russell thought Stoicism was kinda pointless because it tells people to accept things they could just fix. Instead of detaching from pain, why not actually solve the problem? So, where do we land? Is Stoicism trash? Not exactly. It's got its uses, helping people stay calm, reducing unnecessary suffering. But it's also got limits. Maybe the key is balance. Take the best parts, self-discipline, resilience, but don't let it make you passive. Don't use it as an excuse to avoid ambition, emotions, or real change. The world doesn't change because people accept their fate. It changes because people refuse to. So, what do you think? Is Stoicism a superpower or a tool for the elite? Does it make people stronger or just quieter? Let's talk in the comments. And if you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.